Me and my partner pick a bale of cotton now. Me and my partner pick a bale a day. I jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton now. Jump down, turn around, pick a bale a day.
This incredible team of people have embarked on a 3-year journey to create Standing in This Place, the UK's first sculpture to recognise the transatlantic story of thousands of unnamed women whose labour built the East Midlands cotton textile industry during industrialisation.
With this project, it was the history that led the story, which was, my ancestors going in the cotton mill and then learning more about this complex shared histories.
Although there weren't enslaved people working on plantations in the East Midlands, they were fundamental to the development and growth of the textile industry.
We're just celebrating the uncelebrated, I think, and just to put it simply.
It's showing about our worth and what we've contributed to the world, not just England, and continue to contribute to the world.
It's really let you feel proud to be a part of something that is telling a bit of the history of our past ancestors.
It's to do with the respect for women, because there has been no statue that has represented women. It's wonderful that it is representing those black and white women, and I think Nottingham has something to be proud of.
The sculpture depicts 2 women in period costume, an enslaved black woman working in the American cotton fields and a white woman working in the East Midlands textile mills.
The East Midlands, and Nottingham specifically, has a long history of involvement with the textile industry. I guess most famously it's known worldwide for its lace industry. And we might talk about that and the wonderful products that came from that. But sometimes we forget about the raw materials that fed into that industry, and a core one was cotton. And of course, cotton doesn't grow in Nottingham or the East Midlands. It grows in warmer climates. And in the 18th century, when the cotton industry really took off in Britain, the technological developments led to an increased demand for cotton, and that increased demand was fed by the work of enslaved people in the Americas, and actually contributed to encouraging more enslavement, more forced transportation of people from Africa.
Especially for Nottingham, with our industrial history being so reliant on cotton, it's like without the enslaved women that could never have happened. And then also from the British perspective, if there were the white mill workers in these mills who were also facing marginalisation of their own, being a woman, just being working class.
The piece has cost £250,000 to create and is the work of sculptor Rachel Carter and community history group The Legacy Makers.
Meeting the legacy makers and hearing their stories and their reasonings why they were looking into their ancestors' journeys, they overlapped and they meshed. And I think sometimes you don't have to peel back many layers to find those connections that are often hidden. And I think that's why we wanted to represent that in the sculpture. It's showing the full story, not just from one perspective, but from many.
The group behind it is a history group, and we're all looking into history about our ancestors and the treatment and so forth and so forth. So to put a black woman and a white woman together, we know that wouldn't have been in real, that would be unheard of. So so that is good. Yes, the work was hard, but at least it left a legacy. A legacy is left behind for us, for the younger generation, and for other people to learn from, because it wasn't just black people or white people that was in the war or in the cotton. It's all nation. It's a lot of mixed nation. But it's a legacy. It's a legacy for years to come.
Less than 5% of Britain's sculptures portray non-royal women, and there are actually more statues named John than there are of females.
It's only a tiny number of statues that actually commemorate women more broadly in this country, ordinary women more broadly. And so it's really important to recognise that women played an incredible part in the industrialisation of Britain too.
Statues like this will then help us to look at other statues that were there to glorify colonisers, where they can then see it in the historical context of this. At one point it was normalised, and that's kind of the reason why we're here celebrating the enslaved, because we only really learn about the enslavers.
The words of Nottingham lacemaker and poet Mary Bailey capture a powerful insight into the life of textile workers in the early 1800s.
She's talking to the ladies of high society who are wearing these fancy gowns trimmed with the finest lace, and she's asking them to think about the people that have their blood, their sweat, their tears that have gone into creating that amazing lace. And it says, "O view the ballroom where beauty beams round and shines with such elegant grace, and think are you no way indebted to us, the runners of Nottingham lace."
Before it opened to the public, the team visited Nottingham's new Green Heart in the Broadmarsh area, where their statue will stand for generations to come.
Is going to be going. So you can really visualise it now when people are coming from the train and the bus station and they walk up. You know, our ladies are going to be pride of place there, but you've got that long view as well, all the way through the park.
That's the only change really. So it was
you know what? It's quite nothing new.
This used to be a marshland back in the day.
Oftentimes we are left in the background, and you know, it's like we have not done anything, our ancestors have not done anything for the development of this country. But when you really looked, it's a lot has been done, and to see that garden there, you know, it will be a constant reminder. They did work and work hard in condition that wasn't suitable for mankind.
I was absolutely amazed at how far this has travelled, this whole project, and from sometimes wondering when we would ever see the Green Heart of Nottingham. It's been a delight to go and see it almost fully completed. Wonderful.
And seeing the surrounding area was really a positive and an uplifting moment, highlighting the role of women, highlighting the role of these significant figures in history, but also bringing that into the modern, you know, the fact that the place has got a really modern feel to it.
Anyone coming from the Broadmarsh area can see the statue. As I say, it's been a journey. It's been a hard journey. We've worked hard 7 days a week.
Rachel has used a combination of both traditional and modern techniques to create the sculpture.
I knew I wanted to use real-life models, and I wanted to use a lot of textile techniques, because that's something that's really important in my practice, is capturing hand processes and intricate textures, and it adds just something beautiful to a sculpture. That's where the digital capture has come in, that we're able to dress live models to capture that moment in time, but then that data that's produced from that split second is then, it all goes through a computer where it's then segmented into lots of pieces, and each piece is printed on a 3D printer. They've got this amazing polymer that can go through the 3D printer and it will behave just like wax.
Casting of the bronze piece is taking place at Panglin Additions Sculpture Foundry in Stroud, Gloucestershire.
And we're in the wax department, so the 3D pieces have been printed and they're in pieces, but first they've got to go into these cages and have sprues and rises, all the channels for that bronze to flow through before they go into the plaster section. So here is a part of the sculpture. So all the 3D printer pieces are finished, and it's now in the ceramic room where lots of layers of ceramic is laid on above. You can still make out very recognisable pieces, from the parts of their apron, we'll have pocket, and even their hand. But as more and more layers of ceramics added, that's going to protect it, ready for its next stage of the journey over into the kiln room.
So once that plaster is now empty of the wax, then you need to put the metal in there. So the bronze is made up mainly of copper with a little bit of tin and zinc and a few other little bits added in. So they will melt all of those metals until they go liquid, and then they're poured into that opening channel. And what those sprues and risers are doing is directing that molten metal into those empty spaces. You've then got a bronze version of what was once wax, and that was what once a person. So you go through a lot of positives to negatives to positives to negatives.
To help you learn more about the lace makers and legacy makers alike, speaking postcards have been installed on Collins Street. Scan the cards with your phone to play archive audio recordings of lace makers from the 1980s, women born at the end of the 1800s who worked their lives in Nottingham's textile industry.
1894 was when I was born.
Can you remember anything about the house you were born in?
Oh, it was an ordinary street row of houses.
Terraced houses?
Well, it was right the length of the street, all attached, you know. Just all 2 up and 2 down. And it was there that my father started his lace factory. He used to work from 4 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and he used to doss in the factory. Gamble's factory in Newdigate Street, up off Fritton Road.
But you know, if you didn't do it properly, they wouldn't pass it, and you used to have to buy it when you'd done, out of your wages.
When we wanted to break, we used to get a piece of soap, slip it on the belt, and then when the belt got to the top, it slipped off. So
that was one of the tricks.
That was a bit of mischief, yeah.
You can also hear modern day recordings from the legacy makers.
It shows you, or it reminds you of where you're coming from. Where is my roots?
Thank the Lord Jesus. That's what my mum would say. Thank God we are recognized as a human being like everybody else.
And I think of my grandmother. I think of Mama Tama. And then I think of me representing the now statue that's going to be there.
Where I come from, my mother would say, I mean, and in fact, it wasn't my mother, but her mother says, if I have children, not one of them will work in a cotton field. And what wicked places they were. The plantation owners, they had such influence, they would close down the schools so children would be able to pick cotton.
After months of anticipation, the legacy makers travelled to the foundry for a first look at their statue, now almost complete, cast in bronze.
Gorgeous!
It does look alive.
I love it.
A chair.
There you go.
It's the same way up.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's been a journey, and to see the nearly end product, and the nearly end product is beautiful, never mind when it's finished. The one that was in the Americas spitting the cotton, and the lady that was here, and to see us now reproducing that.
Yeah.
And it's the love and everything that's gone on with this project.
A reminder that this is a one-off, it's a first for the UK because of who we are and who these women were.
And our ancestors, we are honouring them. When I think about the bales of cotton that landed here, and then the enslaved person in the Americas literally picking that raw cotton, and a European cotton woman would be touching the same bit of cotton without even knowing. So that's, to me, is where there's a connection and there's a joining. I'm thinking about the joining of hardship and souls and having to make do and going through all the things that those women would have gone through. I know that my grandmother would certainly see herself in the statue. I am standing tall and proud and honored.
Me and my partner pick a bale of cotton now. Me and my partner pick a bale a day. I jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton now. Jump down, turn around, pick a bale a day.